Hey there, guys. There's a lot of people hopping on. I'm going to wait just another 1 or 2 minutes and then we will begin. Thanks for your patience.
I was brave and I love my cuz.
All right. Hey, everybody. It's Andy from Liberty Lake. I hope all is well with you folks. I hope you're getting psyched. Not many days until camp starts. And if you're half as psyched as I am, that is pretty psyched. So I got a lot to cover. I'm going to try to rip through it. Going to try to keep my language clean if there's any children in the background, but I'm going to be emphatic about things. So prepare yourself for that. And there's going to be plenty of time at the end to ask questions. So Taylor Dombowski, who's a senior girls division leader, who's been here since she was a camper, since she was really wee small, she is taking questions, but I think you should hang on to your questions because there's a good chance that I will answer them along the way. So write them down, save them towards the end. I guess you could put them in there, and Taylor could also answer them while I'm yip yapping. But there's a good chance I'm going to answer them. So yeah, so I'm going to share my screen again, and then here we shall go. All right, so back to this. Okay. Can they see the PowerPoint? Are we good? Yeah. All right. So Liberty Lake Day Camp is owned and run by me and my wife, Jill, who just left. She was sitting behind me, but I was trying not to be a nuisance. So we're going to work from home because these days we get in really early and we get out really late.
Make it big. So
make it big.
It.
Okay.
Yeah, make it full
like
screen.
that.
Yeah, that's better.
Okay. So Taylor's also a lot younger than I am, better with IT. So we were high school sweethearts. We got married. We've been together. We got 2 kids. Yeah, and we slave away at camp here because now our kids are out of college and we're empty nesters, which, by the way, for you folks, when you're looking forward to being empty nesters, you know what happens if you own a family business? You just work more. So that's how that works. So back in the day, I was an aspiring rock and roller. That's what I wanted to do when I was in my early 20s, mid 20s. I was in a band from New York City called Absolute Drama, and we were on the radio and Star Search and things like that. I had dreadlocks, yeah. And my friends call me a sellout now. And you know, I became a school teacher as a day job, and then at night I'd be out gigging. And then when my band broke up and I chopped off the dreads, it was like, well, I don't know if I'm going to be a teacher my whole life. So my summer job turned into my full-time job. And that's when I started in like the mid 90s running camps, first out in Long Island with a group of really successful camp operators, and then got bought by a sleepaway camp guy. So I learned about sleepaway camp from him, and then started Liberty Lake in 2002, started a second camp about 8 years later up in Massachusetts called Everwood Day Camp, and then recently got into a sleepaway camp up in Lake George. I've also been the president of the American Camp Association and involved in the camping industry for a long time. And I'm like the head of PR for them, and that they love using Andy on camera. So that's why, if you didn't see it, Good Morning America was here on the first day of camp last year, and they might come back. Oh yeah, so there's me on the Today Show and all that kind of thing. So my son Justin's going to be working here. Again, this will probably be it for a while because he just graduated Villanova, where he was one of the basketball managers, ran a big Special Olympics thing, gave a TED talk, all that kind of stuff, and has been working part-time for Lululemon, is now working full-time, and they're going to grab him to be a corporate trainer. So that's him. He's going to be a head counselor and helps run orientation for us. My daughter is 26. Was a musician, performer, actor, actress, dancer, singer. She went to college got into the music business kind of stuff and was at a music festival in 2020 in March when the world came to a crashing halt, and found herself in Panama where she stayed and now teaches yoga and runs retreats and things at a resort called Playa Venal, 5 hours away from Panama City. It takes a long time to get there, but it is quite beautiful, and she is living the life. So that's what we got there. And then, yep, Jill and I, we are here with our crew of people, Joe and Brandy and the rest of the crew. But for the last 2 weeks, it actually looked like this. It was a medieval village, and we had an amazingly successful Renaissance fair. Mostly successful. It's always awesome, but it's super successful when the weather's perfect. And it was like today, every day, the last 2 weekends. And yeah, we had 4,000 people a day out at Liberty Lake, which was a scene, but we handled it. So yeah, so this is like my world that I revolve around, all these things. I started a government affairs group to represent camps in the state of New Jersey, and it has been very helpful. I also run a podcast called the Day Camp Podcast. I'm the host of that is second most successful podcast in the camp industry. So as most of you know, we ran in 2020. We were really one of the only camps that ran in 2020. Reason being, we're outdoors. Like if we couldn't do it, nobody else could. But I also have a very strong team, and I felt that if anybody can do it, we could. And it was super successful. We had 1,000 kids that summer, and man, it was so nice because remember in 2020, kids didn't get COVID. That was nice, right? 2021, last year, we ran it back. It was our 21st, it was our 20th anniversary season. And last summer was way tougher than 2020, primarily because all the teenagers and college students had just spent a year and a half trapped in their bedrooms staring at their laptops. So it made it very, very challenging for them, and hence a challenging summer. We had a ton of kids and they all came back. So the kids had a great time. That's good. We are committed to being the best in everything that we do. And one of those things is that I bring in a lot of colleagues because I do a lot of training myself. I've spoken at conferences all around the world. I was the keynote speaker at the first ever camp education conference in Beijing, China. So I get to meet a lot of awesome people, and I bring them in to do work with us. So yeah, we really try to get our staff up to snuff. In regard to the COVID precautions compared to the last 2 years, the big thing the last 2 years, besides everything being much cleaner, is that the groups could not mix together. The groups had to stay static, and they moved around like a little classroom all day, right? Which is not the way that Liberty Lake normally runs. Liberty Lake normally runs the way we're doing it again this year, which is the groups split and go to electives, okay? So that was challenging the last 2 years with this, but we plowed through. And like I said, the kids had a blast, which was nice. So, even through the pandemic in 2020 and 2021, the kids did not have to wear masks because we're outdoors. We're an outdoor camp. The only time kids wore masks was on the bus. And this year, masks are entirely optional. Indoors, outdoors, upside down. We've had a couple of staff trainings already. There are staff that are wearing masks. I'm sure there'll be kids wearing masks. We had a school field day here. We had 300 kids from Robbinsville here today. And there was probably 2 or 3 dozen of them wearing masks. So it's going to be what it is, and, we'll respect everything and do whatever, and people can do what they're comfortable with. We preach inclusion in everything we do, and that will include mask wearing and people who want to, go a step further and be safe. So the day at Liberty Lake starts on the bus, right? For most kids, 2/3 of the kids at Liberty Lake take the bus. And we have buses as far as Center City, Philly, and Voorhees, and Princeton area, and out towards Jackson, New Jersey. So we pull from a wide and catchment area, which helps make a very diverse camp, which I'm very proud of. Camp starts on the bus, meaning they have fun on the bus. So we have staff on the bus, and half of our staff are former campers. Most of the staff on the bus are former campers because they're the 16 or 17-year-olds that need a ride to camp anyway. So the buses come in at about 8:45, but before that, we have kids coming for before care as early as 7 in the morning. Okay. And on the other end, we have kids staying as late as 6 in the afternoon. Right. So the buses pull in around 8:45. They get off. We have a big assembly. Right. And yeah, and that's that. And then in the afternoon, they hop on the tin cans and they're out of here by 4. And most kids are home by, let's say, 4:45. We do have a late bus that leaves at 5:15. This will be the last year that we have a late bus that is free. It's included right now. The costs of everything are going up so unbelievably, and transportation is one of the biggest areas because, of course, gasoline and staff on the bus and all that. So anyway, we do have a late bus option. It only goes south and only makes 3 stops. And unfortunately, my Philly friends, it does not go to Philly. It says camp placards here. Right now, we're stuffing envelopes to send out to you with the parent resource guide and with camp placards, which is basically your ID card. So if you come to pick up your kid at camp, you have your ID card. Also, when you pick up your kid on the bus, so here you are on the corner of 22nd and Catherine or something like that, that's your ID. So that this little kid jumps off and runs to you, make us feel good, show us your ID, okay? Late drop off, late pickup, try not to do it. If you do, try to call ahead. We have a 3 to 4 p.m. blackout time where we don't want anybody coming to pick up their kids, because that's the time that we're working on our lists to make sure that we know who's going home on the bus, who's getting picked up later, who left early, all those kind of things. And anybody comes during that time, it sort of screws our system up. So if you come at 3:02, we're probably going to say, unfortunately, you're going to have to wait till 4. And if you call us ahead of time, we'll certainly remind you of that. You shouldn't just show up and say, where's my kid? If you show up and say, I need my kid, realize your kid could literally be sitting on a boat in the middle of the lake. So you got to understand, see it from our perspective, and also know that we have, it could be 800 plus kids here and 300 staff at one time. So it's not like we could just like reach out and grab your kid 2 seconds either. Yeah. And Fridays before holidays tends to be nuts when it comes to all those things I'm talking about. So Britt is our bus coordinator. You can reach her at bus@libertylakedaycamp.com. The bus routes are being created right now. They're being finalized right now, actually. We have our Philly routes. We're just waiting for the New Jersey ones, which should be done in a couple of days. And then we'll send out all the bus routes to everybody soon. And then when you get the bus routes, you'll see the approximate times. And you may say, you know what? I want to switch and go from this stop to this stop, or from this bus to that bus, because we're going to send you the list of everybody, all the buses. Okay. And you can make changes from there. Like I said, masks optional. And we will keep, from COVID times, we will keep the windows cracked a little bit to keep the air flowing, which is something that we learned from COVID. We're going to keep a lot of things from COVID, frankly. So this is what the schedule looks like. It's crazy. This is why we don't show you this schedule during the actual tours that you come to, because we're afraid you might have a seizure, because it's super complicated, and just want you to see all the moving parts. So when I say, don't just show up and say, hey, I need my kid, because there's a lot happening. This is the organizational chart that shows you how the camp works. There's a lot of people, 300 plus staff. That's what we have. Okay. It's basically like we're running an army of really nice people, including catering staff and lifeguards and nurses and all that kind of funky stuff. Right. This is what the groups look like. The groups, compared to most other camps, are much smaller. So yeah, we have a lot of kids here, but they're in small groups and they're in divisions that are well managed with great ratios. We make sure that these groups are small so that the counselors can get to really know everybody and can really intervene. And by the way, getting to know people at camp is a lot tougher at Liberty Lake for older kids, because the older you get, the more electives you get. And the group splits and comes back together, and splits and comes back together. So if you're a group leader of like 12-year-olds, you really have to work hard to get to know those kids, because you're not with them all day. The last 2 years during COVID, we ran a traditional camp program where we walked around with the kids all day. Yeah, they got to know each other. There's no doubt about that. That's one of the good parts. But the better thing about Liberty Lake with the electives is that the kids get to do the things they want to do. We'll talk more about that later. So each of those divisions is run by division leaders. The division leaders are your concierges. You are going to get an email probably tomorrow, certainly by this weekend, from your division leaders. If your kid is a freshman entering first and second grade, it's going to come from frosh@libertylakedaycamp.com. That is the email for the freshman division leaders. They both read it and will respond to you. Softs, juniors, there's a whole list of them. We'll get to that. And they're your first people you should contact about stuff. Not about billing or changing schedules and that's Joe, right? He's our financial guy, but we're really done with all that. This is about camp stuff, right? That's who the division leaders are for you. They're your concierge. If you're having issues with them, you're not getting the right answer, you're not getting a response, call me or whatever, email me. Actually, don't call me. It's hard to get me on the phone this time of year. We have division leaders, we have head counselors, we have assistant division leaders. We have so much support for our frontline staff. And you see that weekly report there. That's something that gets filled out by the staff every single week. That goes to the division leaders to let them know what's going on in the group. It's a really nice tool. Spare calendar. Every day is a holiday at Liberty Lake. You've seen this. You're going to get another copy of it because that's going to go out in the mail later this week with the ID thing I told you about, the placard and the parent handbook and a couple other things. So every day is something different. It could be something really simple like superhero day. It could be something crazy like chocolate pudding tug of war. But I want to address a couple of these things on here that stick out. So the first thing in the top left corner on the second day, it says Star Points Color War sorting day. So let me explain what Color War is for those of you that didn't go to camp yourself. So Color War is an event that happens at a lot of camps, especially sleepaway camps, where the camp breaks into teams and they do competitions. And we've been doing this here since day one. It's our 21st year. This year, we're expanding. We're going from 3 teams to 5 teams, partially to keep the teams smaller, but also partially because we have 5 star points. And this is a way that we can stress the star points in all the things that we do, right? Independence, aspiration, teamwork, friendship. I forgot one. So integrity. How could I forget integrity? One of the best ones. So the kids, so we're also changing Color War. Color War used to be something that we just did 1 week for 3 days. And the only kids that got to experience it were the kids that were just lucky enough to be there that week, because we don't tell you when Color War is actually going to happen, like the actual big event, Color War. It's a surprise. So it was always disappointing for the kids that, let's say they came the first 2 weeks and then Color War was the 5th week or something, right? They were disappointed. So we're actually going to do little Color War events all the time now. So the kids are actually going to find out what their Color War team is on the second day of camp. And a kid that starts later, they're going to find out when they get here. And then we're going to do little Color War things all the time. We're even going to do them in the off season on social media, at open house things here. We're going to always have little bits of Color War going. And it's legacy Color War, which means that if your kid, turtles and freshmen, the younger kids, their whole group stays one color. But once you get to sophomores, 8-year-olds, the kids are all going to be different colors in the group. And if you're on the silver team, you're going to be on the silver team for life. Your siblings will be on a silver team. If they end up staying here long enough to have kids, their kids will be on the silver team. Okay, it's going to be legacy running through. Excuse me. Another one towards the end, you see second to last day is Campapalooza. Campapalooza is the only day that we supersede the electives. And for that afternoon, it's basically a big music and arts festival where there's groups, there's kids are performing for each other, there's art things going on, there's amusement-y kind of inflatables thing. It's like a big fun kind of day towards the end of the summer. So that's sort of unique. The rest of the things, like I said, they'll do them within their schedule. They're fun, sleepaway campy kind of things. For kids entering preschoolers through entering 4th graders, they have mandatory instructional swim every day. So every day up at the pool, there's swim instruction. We will test them on the first day. They'll get put in appropriate swim groups based on their talents, and then we will try to move them up. If your kid comes home and says, oh my gosh, I'm in a group and it's so hard, I can barely stand, all that, right? Or if they come home and say, oh my gosh, it's so easy, they got me in, so let us know. Or email swim@libertylakedaycamp.com and let the head of swim know. Swim instruction, we try to keep the group small, and every single Friday you will get a virtual swim card that says little Johnny is in the Barracudas and this is what they're working on, and they worked on backstroke and they're working on their breathing and and that kind of thing, so that you on the weekends can't, if you're taking your kids swimming somewhere, you can say, hey, show me how you do the breaststroke because I saw you're doing that in camp right now, right? We want you talking about it with the kids. The last 2 years, we had swim instruction. The whole group had to stay together, right? Which made it really hard because there's beginners, there's advanced, and they were all in one group. My staff did an amazing job of making it work. But this year, it's going to be great. You'll have beginning swimmers together, intermediate swimmers together, advanced swimmers together, that kind of thing. When they do instructional swim or free swim, it's by division. So it's only the 1st and 2nd graders. only the 3rd and 4th graders, like that. Free swim, everybody gets free swim. And free swim can happen at one of the 2 pools or at the lake. And we have a shallow part of the lake and a deep end of the lake. The pools, by the way, there's a big pool slide, you see, which is one of the big things, one of the big draws for free swim too. In order to go down the pool slide, in order to go down in the deep end of the pool or the deep end of the lake, you have to pass the deep water test, which is a huge thing at Liberty Lake, which frankly, most kids, once they hit like 1st grade, can pass as long as they take swim lessons here long enough. If you're here for only 2 weeks, it's tough if the kid's not a great swimmer. But if they're here for a substantial amount of time, you can rest assured we will get that kid to pass the deep water test. They may fail a few times first, but we make it happen. And then they can go in the deep water. Really quite simple. So it's one of those aspirational goals. And it's really quite awesome when a kid tries, and then climbs to the top of the tower, passes the deep water test, goes over the zip line. Like that's like killer, amazing camp stuff that just like makes you want to cry when you see it, frankly. Right now, we have 21 lifeguards, the most lifeguards we've ever had hired before the start of camp. And here we are in a hiring crisis, right? So I'm very proud of my hiring team. Part of the thing is we're paying the heck out of them, right? That's one thing. But also we run our own lifeguard training program because our head of swim is our Red Cross trainer, which makes it nice. So we train them and then we immediately hire them. It's really sneaky. So we feed everybody at camp. And the food is really good. So the kids come in the morning. And so let's say that you guys are all my campers, okay? And I'm your group leader and I'm taking attendance and I'm making sure everybody's here. And then we say, okay, guys, today is chicken and waffles. By the way, we ran 1 day of chicken and waffles last summer as an experiment. And it was by far the greatest camp lunch that we had ever had in the history of this camp. Even beat pork roll, egg and cheese, which is hot in New Jersey, all right? But chicken and waffles is so amazing because there are kids that like chicken, there are kids that like waffles, and there are kids that like chicken and waffles. And it's just like home run city, right? No wasted food. I love it. So let's say I say, okay, guys, it's chicken and waffles. So who wants chicken and waffles? So the kids say, no, you're going to get a copy of this. This is coming in the mailer too. You can put this on the fridge so the kids can be prepped, okay? Because if the kid doesn't want chicken and waffles, they can get all these different assorted sandwiches we have, right? Tuna sandwich, turkey sandwich, ham sandwiches, sun nut butter and jelly, because we don't do peanuts here at Liberty Lake. We don't do tree nuts. We don't do nuts. Okay, so you don't have to ask. If your kid's got nut restrictions, there's no nuts here. We pay tremendously extra to get ice cream with no nuts. Okay, like dipped in chocolate ice cream, no nuts. Okay, so there's plenty of alternatives. There's also salad bar and a pasta bar. Okay, and the salad bar has always got like a protein on it, like a hummus or grilled chicken, eggs, things like that. And the pasta bar is either with sauce or with margarine, okay, because it's non-dairy, because we're very conscious of that. We actually have a woman hired. We call her the dietary specialist, and her email is food@libertylakedaycamp.com. And she will be contacting all the people who have filled out their medical forms. This is the first of 10 times I'm going to say, please fill out your health history, because you have to, it's the law. And because that's how we know if your kid has a food restriction, right? She'll reach out to you and confirm these kind of things with you. And she makes sure that the kitchen knows and that the group knows and that everything happens, right? We have kids at this camp that are allergic to 10 things, and we take care of them, okay? When pizza day comes, we have gluten-free pizza. We have dairy-free pizza, right? Like we really work at it to make sure, because remember, again, we're an inclusion camp. We are not the kind of place that's going to have like this table for these kids and this table for those kids. That works completely contrary to everything that we preach. So yeah, we try to make it work. Now, we have had kids that have unbelievable food restrictions. Like there are some celiac kids that are super, super sensitive, right? There are some kids that can only eat like 10 things in their world. Yes, those kids bring a lunch. There are some kids that will subsidize this lunch. They'll bring in some food and we'll keep it in the fridge. And if there's an issue with what we're serving, we can bust out some of their stuff. But we try really hard to make it work with our caterer. And it is a caterer. It's not Andy's hired henchman doing the food. It's a professional food service company that we pay a decent chunk of change to for each kid every single day. There's water everywhere. There's all kinds of drinks. There's yogurts. There's apples during the day. We're big on apples. It's a great snack, we feel, and pretzels. Those are our big snacks around here. And on Fridays, every day at the end of the day, we have ice pops. Not the healthiest thing. We're a healthy camp, I swear. Most of this food's super healthy, but we do have ice pops at the end of the day. I'm sorry. Let me have a drink. Hold on. Excuse me. And on Fridays, we have ice cream. Speaking of unhealthy things, we also have slushies. So slushies are a big thing at Liberty Lake. They're sort of my Pavlovian behavior modification tool, meaning that's what kids get when they win. That's what kids get when they get birthday parties. It's birthdays, a slushy party, right? And it's a very, very coveted thing here, the Liberty Lake slushy served out of the snack shack. They, I don't know what else I got to tell you about slushy. Oh yeah, since you guys are new, right? Your kid will, after camp ends, your kid will get a birthday card from us for next year. And the birthday card will say, "Happy birthday, little Johnny Wiedemeyer." And it'll say, "This is also a slushy pass." So then if they come back next summer, they got a slushy pass for a free slushy. So yes, Andy is a sneaky marketing man. His wife came up with that one. All right. So I think that's good with the food. Free choice. So Liberty Lake, you saw that crazy grid, right? With all the different things happening. In that grid, every single day is a 45-minute period of free play for that division, because we believe wholeheartedly that kids need to be kids too. Kids should not be running their lives, just running from thing to thing with grown-ups telling them what to do. All right, that's not how you grew up, and that's not how our kids should grow up. Our kids should be allowed to be kids where they, guess what? Figure it out themselves. Okay, here's a big area. Here's a bunch of things to do. Go for it. The staff plays a zone defense. They can play with the kids, but they can't run anything. And I don't care if the kids just want to sit in a circle and braid each other's hair or talk about sports or play cards with each other. Doesn't matter. It's a free period, it's free play. They got to figure it out themselves, and they love it. They don't get to do this very much. I mean, think about recess in schools, right? My kids are in their early 20s now, but when they were in elementary school, I think they had like 20 minutes of recess, and not when it was too cold and not when it was too hot, right? It's like freaking Goldilocks, right? It's ridiculous. So here they get to be kids, and they get to work on their creativity, because I have one of my friends, one of my good friends, she's now the president of the board of directors of the American Camp Association, the national organization. And she worked at Disney for a while. She was in charge of education for the Disney Corporation. And she states that creativity is honed. Creativity is practiced. Creativity is a muscle that you have to get stronger. And you get it from being in situations where you have to figure out what to do. Not from drawing pictures and writing songs. That's nice creativity also. But I'm talking when you are given a situation and you have to work your way out of it. That's the way kids learn creativity. And unfortunately, in this day and age, it doesn't have, there's not that many opportunities for that, right? The kid goes to have a play date and you drive them across town, you drop them off and they play video games. When I was a kid, not to sound like an old fogey, my parents just kicked me out of the house and I played in the yards and the street, and you just learned it, right? Not everybody has that opportunity to do that. We do it at camp. That's what free choice is. All right, let's talk about electives. By the way, I had to explain this to the veteran people on Tuesday, because we haven't done this in 2 years. And half the camp right now are people that signed up since COVID started, and they never got to experience this thing. So the genesis of this program came from the fact that when I was trying to become a professional musician, I was a music teacher. I was a band director. So I was the guy that the kids signed up for band. So I only had kids who chose to be with me. Think about that. So the kids that came to me all wanted to be with me, which made it really easy to teach them because I wasn't forcing them to learn it. Unlike my friend who had to wheel the piano into the room and try to teach them a song from the 1950s or something, right? And force feed them. So when I had a chance to start a camp, because the first two camps I worked at were traditional camps, as they say, where the groups stuck together all day and they said, oh, you're a 10-year-old boy. We're going to give you a lot of sports. And you're a 10-year-old girl. We're going to give you a lot of art and music. And they stereotyped like it was 1950s. Okay. So when I started a camp, I didn't want to do that because I'm a basketball playing musician. I like doing all different things, as would all kids. But if I was a typical 10-year-old boy at a typical camp, I would never have music because boys just don't do music. That's what they think. But yet, look at all the rock stars on TV. I think they do music, right? So anyway, the way this works is that we hire staff and they come up with 5-day curriculums for for 8 weeks. So if I hire you to be the STEM teacher, you're going to come up with 8 different weeks of STEM. And 1 week might be crime scene investigation. And they show up and it's like all this broken things and they have to figure out what happened, right? And that's the basis of the week, right? A kid goes to dance and they're going to work on a dance 5 days in a row, 45 minutes a day with a dance instructor. And then on Friday, they're going to perform it for the whole camp. Same thing with cheerleading, same thing with rap. A lot of performing things we have here, right? This is like a very performy kind of place. If they go to an art thing, they're going to work on an art project all week. If they go to basketball, there's going to be a theme for that week. So maybe dribbling is the theme. So they're not going to play basketball games, but they're going to work every day on dribbling also. Same thing with baseball. And by the way, all this stuff, it's all co-ed, all co-ed. So the kids are in single gender groups, 2nd grade boys, 4th grade boys. There's co-ed teens and co-ed preschoolers, but the main part of camp is single gender groups, but that's just for their homeroom. When they go off to activities, it's all mixed up. Yay, again. So the kids that go to mountain biking, it's going to be half boys and half girls at mountain biking. Make sure they're good bike riders that go to mountain biking because the trails are a bit dangerous. Otherwise, they choose learn to ride, which they learn how to ride a bike. All right. But when you go to dance, there are boys that dance. When you go to extreme tag, there's girls at extreme tag. I love it. It's awesome. Some great things on here. Fencing, because we have the New Jersey Renaissance Fair people. They teach fencing. It's amazing. Pickleball, the new fad all around. That's big. We have a ton of kids signing up for it. I checked the other day because we are doing signups right now. Sign up, log in, go into forms and documents, fill out your top 15 list if you're entering 1st or entering 9th grader. What else? So the freshmen, okay, we used to let the freshmen just pick like basketball, football, and like 3 kids would pick this and 3 kids would pick that. So now we're just doing freshmen. It's called Frosh Multisport. And any freshman that loves sports, sign up for that. And one day it'll be baseball, one day it'll be basketball, one day it'll be that kind of thing, right? Same thing with freshman arts, Frosh Fine Arts, Frosh Music. We're trying to just sort of reduce the choices so that more kids can be in the group, so they're not scattered all over the place. And there's 3 kids that want to play baseball. Doesn't work very well. Jurassic Camp is our haunted trail. Every year we do like a haunted house trail thing in the woods. Super neat. This year it's a Jurassic Park theme. And they have some really funny, really cool ideas. Senior soiree is like a senior hangout period. It's literally a hangout period. But you know, for those 12 and 13 and 14-year-olds, they like hanging out. It means a lot to them. In the middle of this thing, you'll see LLTV. LLTV, 3rd grade and up, is the only activity on this entire sheet that couldn't have been done in 1950. All right, it's the only thing that uses technology because they literally are making videos. It's a videography class and they make YouTube videos. And who knows, maybe this year TikToks. We're making a Liberty Lake TikTok. I have a bunch of staff on it. I have a staff person. He's a sophomore at Rutgers, okay, group leader. He has 504,000 followers on TikTok. Can you believe that? 500,000 followers. So anyway, he's helped me run a TikTok. So what else? Drama. Drama is for freshmen and sophomores who want to do dramatic things, but can't be in the play, because the play, the musical, James and the Giant Peach, that's a serious commitment. That you got to be in that for like a major chunk of time. Like from week 3 to week 7, and the performance is on week 7 in the evening for parents, during the day for the kids. Anyway, if you have any questions about this stuff, you can email electives@libertylakedaycamp.com, and Brandy or Tracy will get back to you on that. Oh, and here's a big thing. it's very important that the kids try new things. The hazard of the Liberty Lake elective program is that if you ask your kids what they want to do, I can almost guarantee you they're going to choose things that they are already comfortable with. And that is not the purpose of this. We want them to try new things. Look at, there's 60 things on here. Look at this. We have a magical leprechaun. I got a professional magician. Okay. Week 1 only. Okay. My gosh, 3rd grade and up. That he is unbelievable. If you didn't go to the Renaissance Fair, he's one of the stars of the Renaissance Fair. He's a New Orleans street magician. He's magical. He really is. So what I did with my kids when they were younger, I said, this is what we're going to do. You're going to pick one. Pick your number 1 choice. You'll absolutely get it because you'll put them in order of preference. So let's say you choose high ropes adventure, the zip lines and stuff. So that's your number 1 choice. You're going to get that. And then this next choice, we're going to pick together. And then you pick one, and then we'll pick one together. And then you pick one, and we'll pick one together. And then guess what? Your kid's going to get some things they wouldn't normally take. Because what kid out of the blue is going to say, I want to do archery when they've never done archery before? Because it seems weird, right? Everybody loves archery. You got to get your kid to take archery. It's awesome. All right. And I got to tell you, you know what the most popular electives are here? Archery, boating, fishing, gaga, things that kids don't normally do at home. Those are the popular things. Soccer, baseball, softball, basketball, they're popular. They ain't that popular because kids play them all the time. I got an awesome basketball coach, an amazing basketball coach. His name is CT Chris Thompson. He's a professional basketball coach. His brother was Curtis Thompson, who was in the Olympics, came from Florence. Guy's amazing. Anyway, but it's not like he's got 6,000 kids that want to do basketball because it's hot and they already play basketball all the time. They want to do the zip line, right? Or fishing, right? Fishing is hugely popular. I have 2 fishing specialists. It's so popular, all right? So get the kids out of their comfort zones and try it. And this is the thing. If they try it on Monday and they don't like it, they can switch out, okay? That's important. We let them switch 1 or 2 of their electives on Monday afternoon for the rest of the week, and then they're stuck in it. Okay. So they should try something out of their comfort zone, knowing in the back of their minds that they can get out, right? We're not going to keep a kid who is miserable in an elective. We will get them out. Trust me. Okay. All right. The success program. So in case you didn't know, Liberty Lake has the largest inclusion program, maybe of every camp in the world. 10% of our population is kids with needs. And we have an amazing intake program. And then it's called a success plan that we create. And a lot of the kids have extra support with staff. We're the only private camp in the state of New Jersey that's part of this thing called the Perform Care program with the Division of Children and Families, where state monies get awarded to these families to use at camp, to subsidize for them to come to camp. And it's amazing. Lots of kids on the autistic spectrum, kids with all kinds of handicaps, but they have to be kids who can be part of an inclusion situation. Okay. So they have to be they have to be high enough functioning to be able to really benefit from being in an inclusion setting. It's not a special needs camp. It is an inclusion camp. And I get just as many thank you notes from the parents of neurotypical kids saying, oh, what a wonderful experience it was for my daughter to be in this group with this other girl who had this disability. She learned so much from being with him. She became friends with her. It was such a great experience. So it's a huge part of what we do. And it's a huge part of just our way of thinking. We're really an inclusion-based place. And with all the DEI stuff happening, and we're doing that at Liberty Lake, it just fits right into that same mold of inclusion. That's all it really is. So we're as young as turtles, right? The youngest kids in camp are turtles. They are entering pre-K and entering K. Their division leader is named Meredith. She's Meredith at libertylakedaycamp.com or turtles at libertylakedaycamp.com. She is unbelievable. She works throughout the year helping us. She's a school teacher and a mom of 2 little kids and an EMT and 10 other things. The teen leadership program, that is one of the best things that we have in the entire camp. It's for kids entering 9th and 10th grade, and it is a true leadership program. So unlike most camps in which when the kids become teenagers, it's usually one of 2 things. Either they're on a bus all day going to Dorney Park or something where they're waiting in line to go down a roller coaster, right? Great use of time. Or you pay and they work, which is sort of like a big scam in the camp industry. We don't do that. These kids are in a legit leadership program with workshops, internships, projects, service projects, and it's just phenomenal. It's not for just growing counselors. It's not a counselor and training program, okay? Because there's going to be plenty of kids that decide to be accountants, okay? There's going to be plenty of kids. Let's face it, most people couldn't be camp counselors. It's a really hard job. You got to be really sympathetic for these kids to be a camp counselor, but everybody needs leadership. So that's how we frame the program. That's how we frame even for our employees that we're teaching them leadership. So our team, it says 250 strong. That was made before the pandemic. Now we're 300 strong. Last summer, I think it was over 300. 3 nurses on duty, a social worker. We are literally the only camp I know that has a social worker on staff. Okay. So Kathy is a wonderful resource. And if she ends up calling you or you end up calling her, man, you will just be super impressed with her. She's like our MVP, really. Facility team, kitchen team. We have a media team, right? Social media, videographer, photographer, all that kind of stuff. Let's talk about pictures for a second. Okay. So we have if you've seen our Instagram or our Facebook, you're just blown away by the pictures we have beautiful children, beautiful staff, and we have a photographer who takes beautiful pictures of them. Every day of camp, he will upload to Instagram. I think you can only do 10 at a time. And then on Facebook, maybe 1 or 2 dozen pictures to give you a sense of what happened at camp, not to give you the anticipation that your kid is going to show up on the screen. If they do, you won the lottery. Congratulations. Okay. But to give you an idea so that you can look at it and say, hey, what was this? Everybody's throwing paint on each other. What's going on there? Right. That's what it's for. Every weekend, he goes on and uploads into CampMinder, into our database, password protected, 1,000 pictures every week. And he puts them in categories and he puts them by day. And if you want to see what Wet and Wild Day looked like for your kid's division, you can go looking through hundreds of pictures until you see your kid. Okay. So that's how it works. Great pictures, great videos that we get. The Friday assembly on the right. So the last 2 years, we couldn't do assemblies at our beautiful Lakeside Amphitheater because it was too scrunched together. I built a pandemic stage on the other end of camp and everybody spread out on a big hot field and we made it through. That's all I could say. So every Monday morning, we assemble together as a camp. And every Friday afternoon, we assemble as a camp. And on Friday afternoon, all the kids that have been practicing all their music, their rap, the rock bands, and the karate choppers, and the fencers, and the cheerleaders, and the dancers, they perform for the whole camp. And it is wonderful. And we live stream it on Facebook. So you can see it from home. It's one of the best things. And then it ends with a rousing rendition of the Liberty Lake song. And if it's your last day of camp, you get to come on stage like these numbskulls that are standing in front of me here. And it's a big moment for the kids. And it's very crazy on the 8th week of camp when it's everybody's last day of camp. That becomes a little bit crazy. So yeah, Friday assemblies are super cool. So think about that. When you're like, oh, well, we want to head down to the shore on Friday. So you know what I'm going to do? We're going to pick up Johnny at 2:00. Johnny is not going to be pleased by that because he's going to miss the Friday assembly, and he might be in the Friday assembly. He might be getting an award for the fishing derby at the Friday assembly in front of 1,000 people, right? 300 staff, right? It's a big thing for kids to get on stage in front of that amount of people. It's awesome. So there's that. All right. So take a break. We're going philosophical for a second. All right. Why we do what we do here at Liberty Lake. Another drink, hang on. So when I was the president of the American Camp Association, I was part of a group called the Partnership for 21st Century Learning, which is a group of people that gather in Washington, D.C. to talk about the future of education. And it involves representatives from Lego and Apple and Verizon and all these HR kind of people and all these unbelievable schools from all over the country, mostly charter schools and private schools, unfortunately, some public schools. that are doing really progressive things. And I got to tell you, these progressive schools, you know what they're doing? They're making their schools be more like camps, more experiential, giving kids responsibilities, growing gardens, giving them chores. Like that's the kind of stuff that's what school's going to look like in 20, 25 years. Right now, schools look a lot like they look like 100 years ago, and the world has changed. And the problem is that employers are saying, hey, we're getting these A students, 4.0 students coming to us, and they can't communicate without texting. They got horrible work ethic. They can't play well in the sandbox, and they're disappointed. And because schools are still teaching like they were 100 years ago, reading, writing, arithmetic. Okay. Do really well on your SATs, but who cares? The thing is, are you creative? Can you work together? Can you collaborate? Can you come up with new ideas? Because you're seeing it already when you go to Wawa now, and the checkout thing, it's robots. Okay. Robots are going to do all the stupid people jobs. And the only jobs left for our kids are going to be jobs where they have to think, and they have to be like processing humans that can talk to one another. Right. And meanwhile, there's a good chunk of society right now that's sitting in a dark room playing video games, not learning that. Okay. So kudos for you guys for sending your kids to camp, because at camp, it is literally the perfect environment for the kids to learn these things. This is what employers want. This is what universities want. Because when you send your kid off to college, in America right now, I think the average is 55% of kids that go off to a 4-year college will graduate within 5 years. 55%. It's very poor. Why? Not just because it's super expensive, but because kids can't adapt. They get there and they freak out, and their parents aren't doing things for them, and they come home, right? You don't want that. Right? You don't want your kid living in your house when they're 28 years old, right? So this is the stuff they need to learn, okay? And this is the stuff we're going to be trying to teach them at camp. So this is our star points. This is what it's all about. This is what everything is based on, what we do. This is why we went to 5 teams in color war, okay? This is what we're trying to teach the kids. And we think we do a pretty good job, better than most places, certainly. And it's not just lip service. It's not just those pretty signs when you come down our driveway. It's not just the little thing that's on the staff shirts. This is in the curriculum for our people that are running fishing. We're like, okay, how are you going to be teaching integrity at fishing? And they figure it out, and they teach it, and they debrief it. And when they're at soccer and the kid could have had a wide open shot, but decided to pass it to their friend who had a better shot, we stop and we say, hey, did you see what happened there? That was unbelievable teamwork. That kid decided not to take that shot and be the hero, but to pass it to their friend that had a better shot, right? The kid at Gaga that gets hit with the ball and didn't realize he got hit and he's out. And all the kids like, hey, Johnny, you're out. And the kid's like, oh, okay, and gets out. We go, whoa, did you see that? That's unbelievable integrity that kid did that. And we celebrate these things. We give them these little fuzzies that they put on their shoulders, and we have ceremonies, and they walk around with these little googly-eyed fuzzies, and they're like, how'd you get that? And they're like, well, I did this really cool thing, right? We created this culture of kindness, intentionality, right? We teach our staff that when a kid does something really cool, not to just give them a high five and say, great job, but to actually say what the kid did, why it's awesome, and then give them a high five, right? We teach, that's not an easy human thing to do. Right? It's a lot easier to give a kid a high five. And at the end of the activities, we leave time for them to talk about it with the kids, of what we saw during that period and why it was great. And did you see when that kid shared? Did you see when she shared her paintbrushes with her, right? What a great act of friendship that was. We point these things out, right? This is what we do here. This is so much more than just babysitting. And we're outside. We're outside all day. I don't know about this summer, but last summer was the hottest summer of all time. It was insanely hot. Okay. When you send your kids to camp on a 100-degree day, I will promise you this, they're going to come home like prunes because they're going to be wet, because that's the only thing we can really do. My daughter lives in Panama. You saw that picture from the beginning. you know what they do when they get hot? She takes a cold shower. That's literally all she can do because we don't have air conditioning, right? The only indoors we really have is in the office. And we do have a room with air conditioning if kids need it. And the health center has an indoors with air conditioning if we need it. Okay. But it's an outdoor experience. We are taking indoor kids and flipping them into outdoor kids because, guys, America is an indoor society right now. It's a sad thing to say, but these kids are not used to being outside all the time. So my recommendation to you is get them outside, get them used to this, because the first week of camp is going to be like boot camp and they are going to come home toast. They are going to be exhausted. It's going to be like the first week of basketball practice or something when you were in high school and all your muscles are pulled and you've been in the sun all day and you're like, oh my God, you're going to hose your kid off when they get home. You're going to throw some food in their mouth. They're going to go to sleep at 7 o'clock. Okay. They're going to be that wiped out because they have to build up some freaking muscles in order to do this. It's going to take time. And when we see cranky kids, we know that 90% of the time it's because they went to sleep too late. You got to get the kids. I don't care if it's light out like it is right now. Get them in bed. Okay. Because they're going to be, do you know, it's like when you go to the beach, first time you ever go to the beach the whole year and you're out in the sun all day and you come home and you're just like literally start getting dizzy at like 7 o'clock. That's what it's going to be like for them. Okay. They're going to be tired. Right. And, you know, for those of you that got tours here and said the innocent question, what happens when it rains? Right. Well, first of all, we call it liquid sunshine. And second of all, it's not raining until Andy says it is. Okay. So you're going to look like this. This is what your kid's going to look like, right? We're going to jump in the mud. We're going to have a good time. All right. They're not going to get hit by lightning. If it really starts coming down and thundering and stuff like that, we're going to get under shelter. Don't worry about that. Okay. But like when I had my kids, if it was raining out and my kid said, I want to go outside and jump into puddles, I'd be like, what are you, crazy? Stay inside. I would never allow that. But at camp we do. At camp we do it because it's an outdoor camp and we just adapt. And I have to say that I've been doing this now for 25 years, this whole camp director thing. And it has been unbelievable to see how the pendulum has flipped. Whereas when I started this 25 years ago, people were like, oh my gosh, we can't let a raindrop hit my kid in the head because they might melt. Everybody needs a trophy, blah, blah, blah. And then what did we do? We created a whole society of soft people, right? Of all the people that are, you know, I don't know. This is what it is. The parents of today, you guys, the people with young kids especially, man, it's like I'm talking to kindred spirits now. They're just like, I want my kid wet. I want them muddy. I want them scraping their knee. I want an annoying kid in their group because that's what life is going to be like, right? And I like that attitude. All right. So we're teaching resilience. We're teaching character. And what I like to say is, if somebody came up to you and said, man, your child has great character. Like, to me, that's the best compliment you could ever get. So that's what we're striving for. Safety, security. Yeah, this is our security force. Now, this is LARP, by the way. This is live action role play, which is something that the older kids do. It's hilarious. It's part of the Will's World elective, if you want to choose that. Okay. It's like Braveheart with PVC and foam and duct tape. That's Will on the top, by the way. He's a nerdy English professor that runs this little army. So we have people at the gates as people enter, with the gates pulled across during the day. We have emergency plans. We do. We had a parent who actually was part of the Office of Emergency Management, and we bartered her with her for a while with emergency plans. We have an alert system with two kinds of alarms. Basically, one is like gather together, like a lost camper drill. You know, let's just be like a fire drill, and the other one would be like if you know, scatter drill. You know, God forbid a lone shooter or something came in. It's a scatter drill where we just run to the. We have lots of woods all around us, so that's pretty actually good for that. All of our staff wears uniform shirts like I'm wearing right now. The staff actually writes their name on. There's a name bar for them to write their names on it. There are no visitors. If somebody does come as a visitor, we put a name tag on them and they're escorted. Okay. Yeah, we have a lake, but we have 20 lifeguards, you know, and the lake, by the way, is a stream. It's super shallow. Right. And, you know, one thing for new parents need to know is that if I asked you to think about the most dangerous places in camp, you'd probably say the lake, the pool, high ropes, archery, things like that. And you're going to think I'm nuts by saying those are actually the safest places at Liberty Lake, because those are the places that have the staff that have the most training. And every single year, we get a report from our insurance company, which is one of the best insurance companies in the country. They only insure the best camps. And there's pie graphs that show where the most accidents take place from the prior years. And every year, it's pretty much the same thing. Number one, basketball, because kids trip and fall and they put their hands out and they hurt their wrists, they sprain their ankles, right? Number two, playgrounds, right? You think playgrounds is easy, but kids can be stupid on playgrounds, right? Number three, walking from place to place. Hey, what's that? A stick, right? That kind of thing. So it's not the pool and the lake and the zip lines. You read about those things because they're good news, okay? And maybe things can happen at crappy camps in those areas, but not in a good camp, not an ACA accredited camp, not in a place that has only certified people in those areas, right? All right, CampMinder. So CampMinder is the database that you use. We can email you out of CampMinder. I can email right now everyone who sends their kids to camp in about 1 minute. Okay, so that's a nice thing to be able to do. And now we have texting software. So what you should do in your cell phones, put the camp phone number, which is 609-499-7820, and put that into your phone, and you will get text messages from that number. So the Liberty Lake Day Camp camp number is what our texting software utilizes. So you will see a text from 609-499-7820. I should put that on the slide next time. All right, so the first week of camp, I touched on this a little bit. Okay, let's just sort of back up a little bit before the first day of camp. So the first thing first is you may be really nervous about sending your kid to camp. You do not want to transfer that anxiety to your kids. That is the worst thing you can possibly do. Okay, kids are amazing. Kids are resilient. Kids are like rubber freaking balls, the way they bounce up and down. They really are. Okay, parents, on the other hand, are nuts about their kids, and it's understandable. They came out of your body. It's like you're a mama bear. I get it. Okay, I had a parent a couple of years ago that followed the bus all the way from Haddonfield to get here. You know what the bus company did? They called the police. They said, somebody's following me, and they called the police. I had a parent that wanted to wear camo and hide in the bushes and watch the kids. Okay, parents have more anxiety than the kids. Okay, anybody here that has sent their kids to daycare, to a new school, all that kind of thing, and the kids crying, and the kids like, I don't want to do it, all that kind of thing like that. What did they say when you came and picked them up? As soon as you left, everything was great, right? That's what they always say. So just keep that in mind, right? All right, so the first day, just be positive, send them on their way, and don't even look back, okay? Just do it. When they get home, like I said, they're going to be exhausted, okay? They might wake up the next day and say, I don't want to go back. You know why? Because they're so tired, okay? And you got to be like, no, man, you got to get on a horse. Now, that's rare. What I hear from most people is that the next morning that the parents wake up and the kid is standing next to their bed with their camp backpack on saying, can you take me? Let's go. Take me to the bus. That is normally what happens. All right. But like I said, go to sleep early. Don't feed any negativity. When the kids were like, oh, well, this kid was mean and I didn't get enough lunch and I didn't do that. Don't feed the monster. Okay. Think positive. Shoot an email to the division leaders and say, hey, this is what my kid said. But be positive with the kid. Because if you start feeding into that, then the kid's just going to come here and it's going to be bad. All right. And these are the kind of growth experiences that are going to help your kid for the rest of your life. Okay. Think about yourself. If you went to college, I want you to think about when you went to college orientation and you didn't know anybody and you were just like, oh my God, this is so stressful and crazy, right? Man, this is what it's going to be like for your kid. Okay. You know who does best on the first day of camp? Military kids. These military kids who are used to moving every 2 or 3 years. Okay. But most of these kids that come to Liberty Lake have been living in the same house in the same town their entire life with the same friends, et cetera, et cetera. And it's a big change to all of a sudden get plunked onto this tin can and be let off where there's 800 kids, 200 staff, 300 staff, right? It's a big, big change. So what I say, I'm telling many parents, if any of your kids have any like crazy anxiety about this, bring them here to come visit. We have picnics this Saturday. Come this Saturday. Say you're here to see Andy and just walk around with your kids. Get them used to this joint, right? Come to the meet and greet on June 23rd, even better. There's gonna be a lot of people here that day, meeting the counselors though. And they're gonna meet the counselors and say, hey, Johnny, we're gonna come off the bus and we're gonna meet right here at this table. And my name's Andy, and this is Justin, and we're gonna be your counselors. And it's just gonna be like, I got names, I know where to go, right? We do this for a living, this camp. This is not like some YMCA kind of thing or JCC where the bulk of their business goes towards like the workout programs and the after school programs and all this kind of thing. We are a day camp. Yeah, we do picnics and we do Renaissance Fair, but the main business here is summer camp. We work 12 months for 8 weeks, right? That's what happens here. I guess you could say we work 10 months for 8 weeks, 10 for 2. All right. So we talked about this, right? The anxiety. All right. Give your kids confidence, right? At the second to last bullet is an important one. No news is good news. So for those of you with preschoolers who were used to going to kinder care, right? Goddard school, whatever. And you pull into the parking lot and you get out and you schmooze with the people there for like 10 minutes. And they give you a little piece of paper and it says, oh, little Johnny, he made a number 2 at 2 o'clock and he had half of his Jell-O and he ate most of his sandwich. That's not happening here. Okay. Assume all is well, unless we tell you. Now, if your kid comes home and is telling you stuff and it doesn't compute, email the division leader and you'll get them on the phone and they'll talk to you and tell you what's going on, what they're actually seeing and all that. Okay. But you're not going to get a daily report like that. It's just, we're trying. Camp is great for your kids. And it's also great for you because we're going to cut that umbilical cord a bit. Okay. And we're going to make it so that, think back to when you were a kid. Okay. My parents used to let me just go outside and play, and I used to go down to the park and I would go to my friend's house and I survived. I didn't text them when I got to this and text them when I got to that and all that kind of thing. I didn't have a low jack homing device in my phone, like where is my son now kind of thing. We did it, right? The problem with cell phones is, and these things is that they actually screw up the parents. Oh no, did my internet whack out? Oh, no, I'm back. Oh, so I was saying cell phones have made it crazy for parents because they allow you to be crazy, right? When there were no cell phones, it was easier, right? Think about when your cell phone dies, right? Runs out of battery, dead or whatever, you lost it, right? And you freak out at first, and then it ends up being the best day of your life, okay? That's what every day at Liberty Lake is like, disconnected, so nice, right? No electronics on the bus, no electronics at camp. All right, we'll talk more about that. All right, the last thing on there is clothing. So do not send your kids in Lululemon clothing. Do not send your kids in nice stuff, okay? When you go into Target and there's this big section of all the $5 clothes, that's what you send your kid in. Send your kids in disposable clothing because they're going to get dirty. They're going to get paint on it. They're going to get chocolate pudding on it. They're going to get pizza on it. Okay. Do not send them in their new Air Jordans. Send them in like the Marshall sneakers. Okay. That's what my whole life growing up, I wore Marshall sneakers. All right. Yeah. And if it's anything valuable that you care about, put labels on it or write their names on it, right? Because your kids are going to lose things. They're going to be distracted. Okay. And if they lose a t-shirt and it's like a Spider-Man t-shirt, well, on any given day at Liberty Lake, there's probably 52 Spider-Man t-shirts at camp. Okay. But not one with your kid's name in it. Okay. So there's actually in CampMinder in the dashboard, there's a thing for ordering labels that are like iron on or stick on ones, because that's the thing is like a tag, a tiny little tag, and you try to write a whole name on a tiny little tag. doesn't work very well. All right. If it's labeled, we'll find it. Okay. Most likely. Rules, discipline. So one of the things about Liberty Lake that people love is that I don't take any crap, right? This is my business. I pay a big freaking mortgage to own this place. I am not going to tolerate one child ruining the experience for other children for very long. Okay. Now we have a social worker on staff. We have, great ratios, division leaders. We have a support team. Nobody gets a fighting chance at Liberty Lake like it is here. All right. It's not like that at any other camp. Okay. But we do not tolerate inappropriate behavior for very long. And the number one thing that's going to happen, if we can't resolve it ourselves, we're going to call you and we're going to say, hey, mom, what do you do when your kid refuses to listen or is punching other people? How do you handle this? Right. And we will try those things. And then if that doesn't work, we might call you in and have like a meeting, like this is it. Like little Johnny, if you're not understanding this, you can't be here. Right. And then every year, a few kids get kicked out of camp. It happens, right? Have 1,000 kids, you're going to lose a few, right? It's just the law of averages. So that's the deal. So communication. So this, by the way, on the right is the last page of the staff handbook. The parent handbook, the parent resource guide. So I emailed you guys a link last week. I think it was the link that had this in it. And it had a link to the parent resource guide. I am sending you a hard copy of it also. Okay, so it's online. It's a hard copy you're going to get in the mail. Read it because it's super important. I am not covering everything today. Trust me. And on the back page is a list of all the email addresses to get in touch with people. Okay. My division leaders, who are mostly school teachers, they are going to start reading their emails next week. Okay. So if you email them tonight, they might not get back to you till next week. All right. Health center, the social worker, the program schedule, the aquatics, the bus, right? The dietary specialist, right? All those different things. Check your emails regularly. It's very important. Your age, that's easy. My staff, not so easy, unfortunately. We will text you only really important things. I am not going to text you to say, hey guys, it's raining. Make sure you pack a windbreaker today, okay? Because we're gonna have liquid sunshine. Like you're gonna need to figure that out. We're gonna text you if the buses are running late. We're gonna text you if some kind of like thing that might be misunderstood, an emergency thing, whatever. I am only going to invade your cell phone push notifications under, I treat it with a lot of respect. I don't want to get spam in there. Okay. You're going to get, if you're on a bus, your bus captain will give you their contact info. Even though my staff's not allowed to use cell phones, on the bus, I let them for the sake of us being able to contact them and for them being able to contact you. So if you're late to the bus stop, they can say, hey, are you right around the corner or whatever? Or if you get there, if they get there before you, they can say, hey, the bus is 5 minutes away or that kind of thing too. We want to make this as efficient as possible. The division leaders are going to send weekly emails to you to let you know what's going on at camp through the division. They send weekly swim cards to tell you how the kids are doing. We told you about that. And then, of course, we have constant updates on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. On the Liberty Lake Day Camp website, on every single page, in the upper right-hand corner are those 3 links up there. Okay, the top one. Holy mackerel. Holy mackerel. Been hijacked. Oh my God. How do we stop Jamal? I just removed Jamal. Oh my God, that was too much. I've never been hijacked.
That was pretty funny. Why did you remove him?
All right. So that's what happens when you put a link out on social media. So the top one says login. Okay. Login takes you into CampMinder. Okay. So when you hit login, this is what you see. This is your dashboard. Okay. You have photos. Okay. See the second thing down on the left there says photos. That's the clearinghouse for all the photos I was telling you about. So there's nothing there now from 2022. There's stuff from the last 20 years. Okay. But then yeah. And the photos, by the way, are really good. You can download them, you can buy them. That's all through CampMinder. Okay. But what I want you to see is on the right there, the forms dashboard. The forms and documents, that's the most important place for you this summer. Okay. So when you click on forms and dashboard. Oh, he's back. Wow. Taylor, you're gonna have to be my defense. Okay. So maybe there's something you can find to like makes it so nobody else gets in anymore, like the closed group or something. All right. So anyway, when you get in forms and documents, this is what you see. So this is the top 15 elective choices. Okay, so you see this family, Gabrielle Ferraro, they did theirs on May 25th. Congratulations. Okay. Camper application, you don't need to worry about that now until next year, until we open up enrollment for next year. And health history was received. Okay, those are the three biggies. The elective choices you can do every single week. Every week, we're going to send a new elective sheet. It's going to say,
Really, nigga?
this year at Taste Buds, it's going to be this. At Drawing and Painting, it's going to be that. All right. Quick links. That's the second one down in the upper right-hand corner on every single page. This is what is in quick links right now. So it's the spirit calendar. It's the current elective sheet. It's the resource guide, the lunch menu. It's the ingredients of the lunch stuff. All these things are live except for the bus times, which is coming in a minute. All right. The online health screening form. I want you to see that.
Shut your bitch ass!
Oh my gosh. The online health screening form, you fill that out only when your kid is sick and not coming in. Okay. You do not need to fill out a form for your kid every day or anything. We're not in the middle of COVID anymore. All right. It's only when they're sick and they're not coming in. We want to know why. It's just like, my kid's not coming in. This is why. Okay. Because if your kid is sick because they broke out in some kind of rash or something, we want to know that, so that if we start seeing that in camp, we can see if it's a trend, all that kind of fun stuff like that. All right. So this is what the parent resource guide looks like. It's online now. Okay. And that's what the Liberty Lectionary looks like. Okay. Online now. Liberty Lectionary, I'm not mailing that to you. That is only in the quick link section. And it's awesome. It's basically a dictionary of all the weird, crazy things we say at Liberty Lake. Okay. It's really cute. It's really fun. I suggest you check it out. It's a PDF in the quick link section, and you can go over it with your kids. What to bring to camp. So if you come to the meet and greet, June 23rd, anytime between 6:30 and 8, anytime. That means don't all come at 6:30. It'll be a huge crush of humans. Anytime between 6:30 and 8. May I suggest a 6:45? Yeah, 7:15 even would be a good time to come. If you come that day, you'll get your kid's backpack and t-shirt. If you don't come to that day, they will get it on their first day of camp. All right. So then you would send your kid with like a little drawstring backpack or something like that, that we can stick into the Liberty Lake one. The Liberty Lake one will have their name on it and their group and all. Okay. In the backpack, a towel, sunscreen. Lather up your kid with sunscreen in the morning. We will help get it back on them after each swim. Okay. Windbreaker. Like I said, windbreaker is a great thing when there's liquid sunshine. Okay. Turtles, send extra close. Okay. Water bottle. we didn't used to encourage water bottles because kids generally lose water bottles. But one thing that happened during COVID is that people actually now take care of the water bottles because they're used to it from school. So send your water bottles, because we converted most of the water fountains to water bottle filling stations now. All right, which are nice. So we have water all over the place. Face masks optional. All right, and we'll have some extras here. Turtles, freshmen, and sophomores, the backpacks stay in the changing rooms all day. The older kids tend to walk around with them like they're in middle school or something. Wear sneakers and socks. Very important. Okay. Do not let your kids come to camp in flip-flops. Okay. They should be wearing something they can run around in. And I know if your kid chose art and taste buds and like all these electives where they're sitting around, they may not think they're running around, but they may show up to camp and this crazy spirit event, which you didn't really understand what it was on the spirit calendar. It turns out it's like American Ninja Warriors, and now they're running around. And if they don't have proper footwear, I worry that they're going to twist their ankles. And there is nothing worse than watching a kid at camp on 60 acres with a boot on, trying to get around on crutches. It's brutal. Okay, we can do it, but it ain't optimal. So sneakers and socks, I'm a big fan of. Shorts, t-shirt. Boys, the shorts are their bathing suit. Send them in their bathing suit. Simple. By the time they get out of swim and get back to the changing rooms, it'll probably be half dry at that point. Okay. If you want to send a second one and they can get in a dry one, that's fine. Okay. Because remember, there's 2 swims for most kids. That's something I forgot when we were talking about swim. So it's mandatory swim instruction up through 4th grade. 5th graders and up, if they want to take swim instruction, they can choose it as an elective. They can also choose swim team. They can choose junior life saving if they're seniors. They can choose polar bear club, which is swimming in the lake first thing in the morning. So the older kids can get a second swim too. All right. Girls, the bathing suits is like their underwear. So their bathing suits underneath their t-shirt and their shorts, right? And when they go to swim, it's like they're all ready to go to swim because they're already in their bathing suits. All right. They finish, they towel off, they put their stuff back on. All right. That's the easiest thing. So we have changing rooms, but I have to say that very few kids actually change in the changing rooms, right? Not that many naked people. It's a whole lot of just, putting their clothes on and off of it. Okay. I wrote, keep your money home, except we have fundraisers because we have a foundation. Liberty Lake Foundation sends dozens of kids to camp every single year. It's a wonderful thing that we do. So we do have some things like that. And then we have a thing called the Snack Shack, which is like a canteen where kids can get Gatorades or bottled water, but they don't need it. You do not need to send money in with your kids. This is all optional stuff. Okay. Miscellaneous. We're getting towards the end, folks. We talked about liquid sunshine. Hot weather is a bigger deal here, right? Like I said, your kid's going to come home like a prune. We're going to keep them wet all day. I talked about the money, the fundraisers, the Snack Shack, right? We do have a picture day, the 3rd week of camp. The photographer is going to come in, professional photographers, to take a picture of every single kid, every single group, and they will send you a link and you can check it out online. And if you want to buy it, go buy it. All right. Sunscreen, bug spray. We're not a buggy place. So what I suggest is get the sunscreen with the bug spray in it. It's a great invention. Baseball caps and hats. I cannot recommend more. All right. There's plenty of shade at Liberty Lake. There's tents, there's pavilions, but depending on if your kid chooses boating, they're going to be out on a boat roasting like a fried tomato, right? Hat is a good thing, right? Whether it's a baseball hat or a sun hat, or kids now very into the bucket hats and things like that. It's just good to keep the sun off your face all day, because that's the kind of thing that wipes you out, that dehydrates you, right? Hats keep you cool, right? So I'm a big believer in that. And then when you go into like mountain biking and things like that, we have helmets for the kids that we clean and all. But if they're going anywhere near the woods, like the haunted trail too, then you definitely want to check your kid for ticks at night, just to make sure, right? People are saying, oh, there's more ticks this year than ever before. I hear that every single year. I see a lot of spotted lanternflies. That's what I see. And they sort of look like ticks when they're babies. And like I said, label everything. Going back to CampMinder here, you see, where's labels? Underneath the forms dashboard says camper clothing labels. You can click that and literally order labels through CampMinder if you wanted to. That's a real easy way to do it. Just like 7-Eleven, you're gonna pay a little bit more, but it's worth the convenience. So at Liberty Lake and at most camps, tipping the counselors is a thing. Okay. You don't have to. We don't promise tips. Okay. Sometimes people just send a really nice card. This app was developed and we used it last year to great success. It's called the Grazie. You can download it. We will upload our staff into Grazie and you will be able to find them online and you can send them a tip like Venmo, right? And it won't just have their counselors. It'll have their swim instructor, their bus captains, the archery instructor, like whoever they love at camp. You want to send them a little something, you can. All right. It's a nice thing to do. We have this great podcast. I've sent the link numerous times in order to download it, but Debbie Gilboa here is one of my friends. She is one of the greatest youth development instructors in the world. She's on that show, The Doctors, all the time. She's actually a pediatrician. And she speaks all over the world about this stuff. I am going to actually copy this and put it into the chat, the link, so that if you want to do it tonight, the best thing is to copy it and put it in through your phone. That is the best way. Oh, chat, where are you? Oh, here's chat. Okay, to everybody. Here it is. All right. So if you want the Apparently podcast, folks, I spent a lot of money on this for our camp community because I think it's that good. So I highly recommend it. You should give it a whirl. I'm on one of the episodes. If you enjoy listening to me rattle on, but there's a lot of really learned humans that are on this podcast. And it's all about helping you raise your kids the way that we teach it at camp, at some of the best camps in the country. What else? Okay. So these next things, okay, the meet and greet, family night, the mountain man overnights. I'm going to explain them, but I want to frame it by saying we want to do these things. We are planning on doing these things, but who the heck knows, right? If there ends up being a crazy surge of COVID, we ain't doing these things, okay? We are thinking first and foremost about safety of your kids and about our staff, right? We have not done these things since 2019. We're going to try to bring them back, okay? The meet and greet, that is June 23rd, anytime between 6:30 and 8, okay? At 8, the staff will start going home. You can park your car, you can come in, and you will find your kids' divisional arrival area, and you can meet their counselors. I think for a new person, it is a wonderful thing for the kids. Bring the kids, bring the kids. It's not for just the parents, okay? So that's the meet and greet. Like I said, if you can't make it, don't sweat it. They'll get their backpack on the first day. Family night. Family night is something that we used to open up. That's August 11th. I think it's like 5:30 to 8, all right? We used to open it up to all our camp families. And when I say all our camp families, that could mean that like 2,000 people decide to show up, right? Families and stuff. And it's a big thing. I really don't feel comfortable just doing that yet, not knowing what's going to happen. Last year, we had the Delta variant, excuse me, coming through camp. All right. I don't want that to happen. So what I'm thinking this year for family night, tentatively, is that I'll open it up for new families and for families that joined us during the COVID years, 2020 and 2021, because they never actually came to a family night before. So I'm going to do it for you all. And for the kids who it's their 5-year anniversary, their 10-year anniversary, their 15th year, we give out prizes, nice longevity things called the Old Timers Club. And we also do the camp musical that night. So the kids who are in the camp musical too. So more information on that as it gets closer. The Mountain Man overnights scheduled right now, week 3 for girls, week 6 for boys. They have to take the Mountain Man elective that week, and they learn how to survive overnight. And then they stay on Friday. We cook dinner over an open fire. They sleep out under the stars, and you pick them up at 7:30 in the morning. Okay. So that is the Mountain Man overnight. Don't decide to take date night in Atlantic City like this one parent did one time, and then their kids started losing their marbles and I couldn't get in touch with them. That was bad. So yeah, stay close to the phone, because if you have to pick up your kid, you got to pick up your kid. But that is a really, really cool night for most of these soft suburban kids. They don't get a chance to do something like this, and it really means a lot to them. All right, the top 15, we talked about that. It's the electives. Do it now. Even if your kid doesn't start week 1. I know it says it's the week 1 elective sheet, but I want everybody filling it out, because if you don't fill it out now, and then you decide on going on vacation the week before your kids come to camp, and then you forget to fill it out, then your kid's going to show up with no electives, which would be bad. So I'd rather have you fill it up now, and you can always change it when the new elective sheet comes. Parent resource guide, I told you about that. Please read it. Bus routes coming soon. Okay, what you got now, because all the groups are filled up. You can't drop and all that. We all know that now. Re-enrollment for 2023. I know it sounds nuts, but last year our sophomore division filled up in September. Okay, so I implore you, if your kid's having a good time, when enrollment opens up, fill out the application, put down $100 per week deposit or whatever it is. It's fully refundable. Okay, to get in, because we had so many families. Here's a great example. In 2021, we had 200 kids from Philly. This year, we have 160. You know why? Because they didn't act quick enough and they missed out. They waited too long and they missed out on camp. All right, the back page of the parent guide I told you about, the online health history I told you about. All right. Put your questions in the chat from my friend Taylor. And while you're doing that, I just want to say, you guys are awesome for sending your kids to camp. You're doing a great thing for them. I know it's not cheap. I know that it's a huge, risk. I know that there's anxiety from a parent level on this, but you're doing a really, really good thing for them. And to me, it's like the best thing you could possibly do for your kids in the summer. I know there's a lot of parents are like, oh, well, I want to take them to the beach and I want to take them to the amusement park. I want to do these things. Well, that's nice, but that's sort of selfish, because the best thing that you could actually do for your kids is let them do stuff without you. Let them grow. Let them be independent. So when they graduate college or whatever, they are able to go off on their own, and they have the confidence, and they remember what it was like to be the new person at camp, to be the new person at school, right? And here's my contact stuff. What do you say, Taylor? You texted me? All right, I'm gonna flip back into Andy mode here. Okay. All right. What's the first one? What's the ratio of swim instructors? Okay. What is the ratio of swim instructors to campers for swim lessons as well as during free swim? All right. So swim instruction. Let me explain how that works. So let's say that we have a group of, let's say there's a group of 3rd grade girls. Okay, and there's 15 of them. It's pretty much a guarantee that about half of those girls, if more than half, so let's say 10 of those 15 girls probably swim at the exact same level. They're like intermediate level 8-year-old girls. Okay, that will probably be one group, and that group will have a swim instructor and someone helping them. Okay, then the beginner kids will be off into a beginner swim group, which will probably be a smaller swim group than that, maybe half the size. And then the advanced kids would be in an advanced group, probably also a smaller size. So if your kid is an intermediary level, they'll probably be anywhere between 8 and 12 kids in a swim group. And if they're beginners or advanced, it'll probably be half of that in the size of a swim group. Free swim, they there's lifeguards. That's it, and staff. So, you know, if there's 20 lifeguards and there's 2 pools and 2 sections of the lake, they're split up accordingly. It depends on how many kids go to each area. But if you just split it up mathematically and there were 5 lifeguards in each of those sections, that would be pretty darn good. That would be way more lifeguards than I needed for those sections. There's always a lifeguard at boating also. There's a lifeguard just for the water trampoline. So, you know, ratios has to do with lifeguard numbers when it comes to free swim, but also the counselors are swimming too. On a hot day, we want our counselors in the water. That's a big deal. Are the counselors in the water during free swim? The counselors are the counselors for preschoolers and freshmen are always in the water. If you came to me and said, hey, I want to be a preschool counselor, I want to be in charge of a group of 5-year-olds or something, I'd be like, great, you're going swimming twice a day, because they need to be in the water with them. Okay. And the swim instructors and the lifeguards. Okay. The older kids get, the less important it is for their counselors to be in the water. But for free swim, they generally do go in the water to cool off. What is the swim test? In the pool, the swim test is swimming across lengthwise the 80 feet of the pool in a good stroke. So that means making your way across 80 feet. Now, some kids do it really well for 50 feet and then they conk out. Okay. And then they do it again and they practice it and then they get up to the 80 feet. Okay. Why have we chosen that to be the swim test? Well, Red Cross. Okay. But secondarily, when your kid's going down that pool slide like this, and then they end up in the water in 5 feet of water, 7 feet of water, it's really important that they're able to get themselves over to the ladder at that point. So it's 80 feet with a good forward crawl stroke. The swim test in the lake is a little bit tougher because it's open water and the lake moves a little bit, you know, because it's not a lake. Remember, it's a stream and it's shallow. So they have to stay afloat for a certain amount of time. They have to swim. It's a similar thing, but it's not 80 feet, but it tends to be a little bit harder. Somebody asked about goggles. Yeah, they can bring goggles. But let's just talk about goggles and other accessories. Let's just talk accessories for a moment here. My view on accessories is simple. The more you bring, the more you lose. Okay. The less you bring, the less you lose. So I'm trying to figure out if this view thing means anything. So in my eyes, if your kid does not need goggles, don't send goggles. If they need them, then send them and write their name on them. Now, on a white band on the goggles, you can do that, right? Or put some kind of band on it. So yeah, do not send swim shoes. They will lose one. All right, they'll come home with one swim shoe. So I don't recommend that. Yeah, try to send them with as little as possible, right? So so that you don't have to worry about stuff, that they don't have to worry about stuff. What should they have in the camp bag? I went over that, and that's going to be in the parent resource guide too, right? Towel, sunscreen, windbreaker. It's really basically about it. Sunscreen. When do they find out when the kids have electives on their first week? Well, you might not like this answer, folks, but you don't find out. Okay. The kids find out their electives on Monday morning. Monday morning at Liberty Lake is like Christmas morning. They get there, we take attendance, we take their lunch order, and then we say, hey, Taylor, guess what you have for your electives? Period 1, you have dance. Period 4, you have fishing. Period 7, you have basketball. And that's their electives for that week, right? Of course, they can change it on Monday, like I said, but that's their electives for that week. Let's see. Do turtles get to mix like the older kids? Well, turtles don't have electives. So they don't mix that same way, but they do things with the other turtle groups. So yeah, they do mix, but they don't choose electives. The turtle schedule is sort of like, we're giving them a little bit of everything, so they get to experience a lot of things. So this turtle group, they have 3 activity periods, right? So for this week, this group might have basketball, cooking, and fishing, right? Those are their 3. that they're going to go to. The next week it'll be something different. The next week could be something different, right? We may even do Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Tuesday, Thursday kind of things with them with art, because they don't have the attention span of older kids to do a 5-day project, right? So we try to mix it up, and Meredith does a really good job of ensuring that they get a good program. And Turtles even have their own turtle specialists, the people that teach just turtle things. Can you put the slide with my contact information back up? Are the first and second graders mixed together? First and second graders are mixed together. Yeah. But I'm going to actually put something else here, the parent resource guide. So this is the parent resource guide I was telling you about. All right. So it starts information on those evening days things, right? Talks about why this summer is different than the last 2 COVID summers, bus stuff, elective stuff, behavior discipline stuff, health and safety, communication, program, financial, miscellaneous, and then FAQs, and then the contact info. So here's the good contact info page. First and second graders are mixed together. Yes. Third and fourth graders are mixed together. Fifth and sixth graders are mixed together. Seventh and eighth graders are mixed together. See, it says division leaders down there with those different divisions. Those are the kids that are mixed together. Okay. Masks on the bus, optional right now. If things change, if we start getting waves of COVID, we start hearing, then we'll throw the masks on the bus. That'll be the first thing that happens. But as of now, all COVID restrictions have been lifted by the state of New Jersey for summer camps. So now it's all just, do I want to jump ahead of it? Okay. And just so you know, over the last 2 years, remember, we were the only camp in the area that ran in 2020. Okay. And in 2021, we had record numbers here. When I debriefed summer 2021 with my colleagues from other camps, we by far were way more strict than any other camp that I know of was. We kept our groups separate in swim groups. No other camps did that. We were really disciplined when kids played, when kids came up before care and after care. If they wanted to play together on playgrounds or Gaga, they wore masks if they wanted to play together. Right. So we have been strict on it, and we know how to do it, and we can flip into it if we have to. Let's see. So the 3+ on the elective sheet means third grade and older. With the grades for the groups, it's the grade you are entering next September. The open water test, if they don't pass that in the lake, they still get to go in the lake. They just can't go swim in the deep end where like the diving board is, swimming out to the dock. They can still go on the water trampoline because they wear life vests to go on the water trampoline to swim out there and hop on. And then we have that big, beautiful beach area that anybody can go on to. So the only thing, if you don't pass a deep water test in the lake, is jumping off that board and swimming out to that dock, that area, because that's a pretty deep area. Yeah, I got that. And in the lake, in the pool, if you don't pass the deep water test, that does take the water slide away. Okay, so the water slide at Liberty Lake is sort of like, I use the analogy, my brother lives in Seattle, and every day he wakes up, well, I guess like 2 or 3 times a month, he wakes up and it's not raining and he sees Mount Rainier. And it's like, oh my God, it's so awesome, right? And every day he looked at that, and then finally he was like, I am climbing Mount Rainier, and he did, right? So that's our water slide. We want the kids seeing that and aspiring to pass their deep water test because of that. And it generally works. But we have a shallow pool that goes from 1.5 feet to 4 feet over the course of 80 feet. That's pretty much open to anybody unless it's over their heads, right? And then the big pool starts at 4 feet and goes to 7. So the big pool is the one that would be restricted because of, because of not passing the deep water test. The windbreaker. Yeah, somebody's just talking about the windbreaker. You don't have to have a windbreaker. I just think it's a great idea because if we're going to get liquid sunshine, sometimes liquid sunshine comes out of nowhere, right? And or sometimes it's going to be, a little bit of a rainy day. The typical thing that parents tend to do, which makes absolutely no sense, is they send their kid in a hoodie, right? Oh, it's going to rain. Wear a hoodie. A hoodie's the worst thing you could send somebody in the rain, because if you get wet in a hoodie, you're gonna, like, your body temperature is gonna like go down. Like you're gonna be like, oh, I need to call my mom, right? Hoodie's not good. Hoodie's good if it's cold, not if it's rainy. If it's rainy, something waterproof. And when I say a windbreaker, we call it waterproof. It's like one step above a plastic bag, that's why it works great. Yeah, the camp nurse is great. Her name's Vanessa. This will be her 3rd year. She actually teaches nurses for a living at Rowan and Rutgers. People are asking, I knew this would come up, about like sandals and things like that, right? Crocs, big thing, right? The important thing about the footwear is not that it has to be a sneaker, right? And you have to wear socks. The important thing is that it's supporting their feet and ankles. Think about your kid running in an obstacle course. If your kid can safely run in an obstacle course in the footwear that you're thinking about, then that's fine. But if they're junky old Crocs and they're going to be sliding all over the place on wet grass, on a wet pavement. If you've been to Liberty Lake before and you've seen that hill that comes down to the lower section, is a big piece of blacktop. If it rains for like 3 seconds and that thing gets slick, you don't want your kids slipping and twisting their ankle on that. You need something that's going to have some grip, that's going to secure their ankle, right? When it comes to the sunscreen, our normal mode of operation is for kids from preschool up through 4th grade. We will literally help reapply it after each swim. Okay. After that, like, when you're talking about like 4th graders and older, if you want us to help like put it on your kid, then tell us to. Otherwise, we're going to be like helping them on their face or maybe like that over here, but they should be able to do it. And we should be able to sort of help instruct them how to do it. We get serious child abuse training, okay, where a person comes in and scares the bejesus out of our staff about child abuse kind of things, right? And so my staff gets a little bit antsy about putting their hands on the kids, but not for the little kids. The little kids need it, plain and simple. We have to do that. EpiPens, if your kid is an EpiPen kid, if your kid has any medications that need to be at camp, send them in either on the meet and greet. You can come and the nurses will be there and you can meet the nurses and you can literally hand it to them, or send it in on the first day of camp. We can give kids meds. We can do anything. It just has to have the original prescription on it that was given by a doctor. You cannot send a Ziploc bag of mystery pills, and we will not give them to the kid unless it has a doctor's note that says what it is. But if it comes in the prescription bottle that says what it is and the doctor prescription, all that we can send. So the same thing goes with the EpiPen. Every year we have an arsenal of like 3 dozen EpiPens in our nurse's office. We rarely use them, but they're there, and they know how to use them and such. I have some kids who are peanut kids, and they come in with EpiPens. Again, you can do that. Send it just in case, but just know there's no peanuts here. Unless some kid, some rogue child brings in a bag of peanuts or something. There's no peanut butter here. There's no peanuts. There's no tree nuts. Mosquitoes, there ain't that many of them here. There really isn't. The only time that I put any kind of bug spray on at Liberty Lake is on the overnight, that Mountain Man overnight. Then I'm dousing myself in bug spray. Okay. But during the day, it's just not a thing. I really don't think so. But if you're worried about it, if it's the kind of thing you're worried about, then get the sunscreen with the mosquito repellent in it. Jurassic Camp, I think that elective is 3rd grade and up. That's to run the elective. That's to be part of it. The whole camp will get to go through it if they're brave enough. Optional. Wow, these are awesome questions. All our open houses are done. What I was saying is that this Saturday is a picnic day. We have people coming and renting and having picnics and stuff, and I will be here working. So if anybody wanted to come by, and walk around with their kids or something, we can do it. Just do me a favor and email me and give me a heads up, Andy@libertylakedaycamp.com. And I might not have time to give you a tour, but you can certainly just walk around and be comfortable if you've never been here before. But again, if there's a choice between that and coming to the meet and greet's much better, because the meet and greet on the 23rd, you're going to have Liberty Lake Day Camp people here, not a bunch of people here for family picnics and corporate parties, which is what it is this weekend. Wow, superb. What do you think, Taylor? Anything else?
It looks like we have run out of questions.
Okay, listen, this is not the end of questions. You can think of stuff. You can always email me. And from this, you're going to get an email from your division leaders. Okay. Even better if you email that division leader link, as it says here, starting next week. Okay, because that's their job. If it's campy stuff, if it's a weird thing, right? I'm happy to answer. I'm always happy to answer. Just know that I'm really busy, right? so my inbox is insane and I get to it, but sometimes it can take a little time. The division leaders, once they start getting around camp time, that's their job, and they'll be responding to your stuff like that. So yeah, don't ever think, well, this is a stupid question. I'm sorry I'm answering. I'm sorry I'm wasting your time. I know you must be busy. No. You guys are the people that keep this machine rolling, right? You guys are the people that pay the mortgage and make this all work, pay the crazy staff salaries we have to start paying now. Thank you. I appreciate it. And Coheed, we're psyched to see the little man too, Jeffrey. Take care. We'll see you all soon. We did this under 2 hours. That was pretty good. All right. See you all soon. Take care. Woohoo. Nice seeing your all smiling faces.